We are going to release her second novel. Writing a novel is usually seen as a very laborious process. It takes a long time to conceive a novel, to put them, put the thoughts on the paper, try to compose them into different chapters, add elements that would keep the reader's interest hooked into the narrative. It is not easy, it is not an easy task to create a novel. Nevertheless, creating a novel, circulating it among the people, these things have become kind of obsolete and outdated in the cyber-prone world that we are living now. We would rather create a reel and upload it on Instagram than write a story and circulate it among our friends. We would rather watch a YouTube video than pick up a book and sit down to read it. Somehow, the latest entry in the post-COVID cultural realm, what we have termed as artificial intelligence, it is even capable of writing poetry. Like, you give a prompt of a poetry to Gemini, Siri, ChatGPT, they would give you a ready-made poem. It is possible for the AI machine to write a poem. It is possible for the AI to compose a screenplay. There have been instances, especially in the West, where filmmakers have actually relied on adapting a novel into a screenplay using AI. So you don't need human intervention in writing stories, novels, etc. anymore. The machine does it. Having come to this particular stage where the machines can handle literary tasks, having come to this particular era where a book is not a valued object anymore, having come to this place where books are seen as a secondary priority, secondary priority in the sense like, if you have to prepare for your examinations, you would basically go to the YouTube and search for the videos that talks about your lessons. You would want to engage yourself in an online session if you want a tuition. You would not rather pick up the textbook and read it or write down things in the notebook and keep it. You would rather play an online collaborative game with your friends than go out on the ground and play it. Or probably you would do both, like, you live in both worlds. There is a virtual world in which you belong. We all belong, it's not like you, but you are native to it. We are late entrance to it. Like, we have come late into that world which is native to you. Of course, you don't have mobile phones because your parents have not bought mobile phones for you. We have all bought mobile phones because we have money enough to buy one. But then the way you would deal with a mobile phone, the way you would deal with a tablet, the way you would deal with AI has something so native to it. You do it so naturally. Whereas we fumble and explore and try to learn how exactly to control that particular mission. If it is a mission, because mission as such is a different word, isn't it? Like when we used to talk about missions, once we thought about this, pipes and cogs and wheels and noise, but these machines are noiseless. Instagram is a noiseless machine. Snapchat is a noiseless machine. ChatGPT is a noiseless machine. These machines work without noises. These machines work intelligently, unlike the machines that needed intelligent people to operate it. There was a time when machines expected operators. There was a time when a machine was a dead thing if the human intervention didn't happen to it. But that is not the case anymore. Everything that we speak is being converted immediately into data. I'm speaking to you, this is being recorded. And there will be a stage when this will be uploaded. What I'm talking to you isn't speech anymore, it is half speech, half data. So when we navigate this world, when we feed our everyday transactions into the data format, a new book seeks out your focus, a new book comes to you, calls out to you, asks you to sit down with it. Why should you do it? I'm supposed to talk to you about this book But let me first talk about all books, because we have come to a stage when all books have kind of become obsolete. We need to seriously think about why literature anymore, for that matter. Why should we read literature? Why should we be stuck with a book if it is a good way to talk about being with a book? We have virtual reality. We think a book is a real reality and a video is virtual reality. That is how we term it. And we prioritize reality and we push into second slot virtual reality products. We, in the sense, like people of our generation, people of my generation. Probably when you come up, you would even call virtual reality the actual reality. See, what is the difference when you start reading a book and when you start watching a YouTube video? How are those experiences different? You take up a book, open it, you find letters, words, lines. You start moving through those words. If it is a good book, if it is a book that catches something inside you, let us call it consciousness. If the book is able to catch the attention of the reader, if the book is able to hook the consciousness of the reader, then after a page or two, you don't see the page anymore. You don't see the black lines running on white pages anymore. You are rather immersed in a world where people are walking, talking, moving, feeling, dying, growing, decaying. That is where you are. You are transferred into a virtual world. Compare that with the experience of watching a YouTube video. So you switch on the video. The video is there. You see somebody talking to you. You can listen to that person talking to you. You can control the speech speed. Okay, you can like draw across that viewfinder, whatever you call it. So you can zoom up, you can zoom out. Your fingers, your eyes, your ears, everything is like active. Unlike the book reading process where almost everything is passive. You're sitting with the book, nothing is passive, just your eyes are basically perceiving the letters on the page, but you do not acknowledge that perception. You are lost in the world of the characters. You have moved into the realm of the characters, you have moved into their feelings. You don't really notice that these words are creating a world. But when you watch a video, you're very, very, very aware of what is happening. You're also aware of the command that you have over the material that you have in your hand. You can pause it, come back. You can zoom it out, as I said. You can increase the speed or decrease it. You can skip and go to the next one. That is also if it is not a viral reel or a viral video, you definitely do not feel like watching it. How do you know whether this is viral? You look into the left bottom corner and you see how many people have liked it. There is a quantitative measure as to like whether this is viral or not, whether this is worthy of watching or not. So if it has been watched by like 1,000 people, then you would watch it. If it is watched only by 100 people, you would skip it. Swipe it up, forget it. This is how we do it. But a book, you take it, you don't know how many people have read it before you. It doesn't have a quantitative data. You don't know whether it is viral or not viral. There is no way the book is going to respond to your touch except for like the faint, soft rustling that you would hear when you turn the pages. Apart from that, there is nothing that the book offers you. The book doesn't talk back to you. The book doesn't give you a notification. Everything on the mobile phone has a notification. And we are prone to notification. We like things that notify us. We like things that call our attention. Book, sadly, is something that does not offer notifications. Book is an inert thing. It is a passive thing. It does not seek your attention. If you do not want it, it does not want you either. The mobile phone, even if you don't want it, it wants you. It calls you. It notifies you. It asks you to come back every time. It makes you addicted to it. Yeah, there is a way in which people were addicted to books. Right? I remember my childhood where, I would be lost in reading and I'll have to be really called aloud by somebody so that I jump back into reality. Like a trance, like a semi-conscious state, I would be lost in the book that I'm reading. You can call that addiction because after I finish a book, I needed another book. In fact, even before I reach the final pages of a book, I would be tabbing on what would be the next one. And how many ever books you read, you would never be satisfied. I don't think that kind of a reading culture or a community is possible in the world that is to come anymore. Books were published by people unknown to us at that point of time. Books reached us through libraries which were basically obscure. You can't access everything in a library. Library had a librarian who was more like a security guard than a librarian. Librarian was not friendly with your shuffling of books. Librarian was absolutely uncomfortable when you went into the library and went berserk with the books. No. But now today, if I look into my own kids' book stock or the book stock that Charu has, which I personally know, they feel free with books basically. Because books have become common objects. Books have become common objects that share a space with only those people who are ready to understand that they're important. Why is literature important? Why is this book important? Why is the second novel written by a child, 13 years old, is important? What is she trying to bring back to us? What is she trying to show us? She's trying to tell you that there is another media. There is another way of understanding the world. There is a way of understanding the world post-COVID. Of course, this book is predicated on the idea of quarantine, which happened during the COVID period. This is about an alter ego of Charunainika herself, Shivani by name, and the way in which she was shut down in the apartment. Of course, I'm not going to break the entire story to you. That would be sacrilege. So I would leave the story, the plot part, I'll leave you to understand. Like, you pick up the book and read it and find out how the story develops. Classic compositional principles would ask us to have a beginning, middle, and end proper for every book. Like the middle should be developed from the beginning and the end should have all the loose ends resolved. This is how Aristotle or the classic theoreticians about fiction writing basically prescribed. They prescribed this format, they prescribed this modality. When it comes to an Instagram reel or any other visually predicated content item that you prefer over a book, they don't go by those things. It is difficult for us to create a book which is based on consciousness and wisdom and not information and surprise. People definitely read. They read online news items. They read Facebook posts. They read Instagram posts. It is not like people have stopped reading. They are reading, but they are reading visual media content, which is primarily a visual item. Charu's book is not a visual item. She has done illustrations for it. She has tried to make it friendly to the eyes of a teenager or a young adult. Reverse Quarantine could be called a young adult's fiction. She has graduated. She has grown from the first book. Definitely she has grown from the first book. The first book was a labor of love. Like people encouraged her, people put together their effort, people told that when you publish this book, you would be a published author, and it means something in the world of print modernity. She was taken by that. The second book, on the other hand, is something that she reflected on, she meditated on. She wanted that book to come because she had that story to tell the people. It is more serious. First time when you do something, there is a lot of curiosity in it. There is a lot of eagerness in it. Second time when you do it, there is calm, there is quietude, there is a certain sense of moderation about the things that you write. The excess of what you have found in the earlier book isn't here in the second book. When she passed over the draft of the novel for me to edit, the one thing that I did not want to do is edit. Because if I edit it, I'm like 40 years old and going. So if I sit with the draft that a 13-year-old had made, and if I am trying to change it, I'm not really doing justice to it. What I have done is I've gone through a few potholes of grammar, linguistic usage. Yes, I have put my attention to it. Otherwise, this book is all hers. The story that she has to tell you is her story. When somebody tells you a story, usually they put themselves up as a character. But that character isn't that person. You would find familiar faces in her family and friend circle who would come into pages, into events of this novel, but they are not the same people. There is an additional dimension. She is creating an alternate universe. She is creating a parallel alternate universe in which these people can live, these characters can transact. And that is where this book becomes relevant. It talks to you about how you live with a certain consciousness that is divided between the devices and the print material. She is asking you to focus from the devices into something that is printed on a page. She is telling that telling a story is important, more important than like showing you the story on a reel or a YouTube video. From the bottom of my heart, I wish all success to this second venture by Charunainika. And I invite you all into the reading experience that she is seeking to provide us with the second book. Book talk actually has to touch upon the plot, but then, yeah, apart from the clues that I have laid out here, I don't want to like disclose this plot to you. There are suspenses. There are like hidden surprises. This book is full of the curiosities, anxieties, and expectations of a child who's moving into early adolescence. Okay? This is a very special world that she is trying to offer you. This is not a mature author trying to prefigure what the child's world would be. She's trying to talk to you about herself, about the kind of world that she lives in, about the peculiarities of, specialities of, specifics of the world that she transacts her everyday life in. So with all pleasure, happiness and pride, I introduce this book to you. I invite you all into the reading of the same. Thank you.